So this announcement just came in about 2 hours ago. The Minister of French Language, Jean-François Roberge, held a press conference with Mayor Valérie Plante right here in Montreal, and they announced that the province will give them $1.5 million towards the city's fight of what they call the decline of the French language. Joining us now is Dominique Ollivier, City Councillor and Executive Committee Chair. Thank you so much for your time today, Madame Ollivier.
Thank you for inviting me, Natasha.
So $1.5 million, that's a good chunk of change to fight the decline of French. What exactly is this money going to be used for?
Basically, what we were announcing today is the second part of contract that we have with the government of Quebec to help foster projects coming from the different boroughs to help either people learn French or help them actually practice French in everyday activities. So what we're going to do with that money basically is try to help different projects that we have, but there's two specific ones that are, I would say, more prominent. Mm-hmm. The first one is a dictée in French from the different municipalities, so we could help young people learn French and newcomers learn French. So this is a process that is going to be going on, helping basically to master the French language. Mm-hmm. And the other one is what we call the Rendez-vous des Affaires francophones, which means more having people realize what opportunity lays into a francophone business market.
Okay. Can you be a little bit more specific about that, about the business aspect of things?
The business aspect of it, basically it's going to be, it's an initiative that was put forward by our committee on Comité de valorisation de la langue française, mm-hmm. and it has two sides to it. The first one, of course, is to see how it's to put together the business community, the tourism community, and the different enterprises in culture to see how we can promote a francophone space of business and culture. And the other one is to go and explore what can be done with other francophone cities around the world. Because, as you know, the francophones is about 320 million people around the world.
Okay, we're speaking with Dominique Ollivier, Montreal City Councillor, Executive Committee Chair, about the province sending $1.5 million to the city to help fight the decline of French. I immediately thought about those stickers in Park X. I couldn't help myself, Madame Ollivier, and how there was quite an uproar and people responded fairly negatively to that. So just to recap for people who might not know, these were large stickers on the sidewalk outside of supermarkets, like just throughout the neighborhood, basically giving a mini French lesson with rhyming words. Is there anything like that in the plan?
Actually, you see, this is an example of the projects that are funded with that entente that we have with the Quebec government. And as I said before, I would just like to recall that the sticker was more of a mean of a communication to make people be aware that there was something going on, but there were actually three different parts to that project. One of them was having mediation and cultural workshop with ambassadors of French language, and the other one was more geared towards the business community, the local business community of people who wanted to help, knowing that Bill 96 has been enforced now, and they're saying that we can give services for about 6 months to newcomer. And although we're not going to implant it, like we're not going to have people swear on their life that they have the right to receive those services, one of the things that we want to do is to help them practice every day, having an everyday knowledge of French. So I think it was very unfortunate that it was received like that by some members of the Anglophone communities and Parc Extension.
Yeah, well,
but I
think
think
that
highlights the need that we have to have a conversation about what's the place of French, basically, in our public space.
I agree. I do want to just stipulate, I don't think it was necessarily Anglophones. We heard more from the allophone community who felt that it was a little bit childish and kind of, they felt talked down to with the rhyming, cutesy approach. But I mean, you're always going to make somebody mad, especially when talking about language issues. There's no question. And spending money, however you're spending money, is always going to make someone mad. I do want to raise, though, because yesterday we spoke to a sociology professor who we were talking about whether or not there actually is a decline in French. And he was basically saying it all boils down to how you actually interpret the information. So I think I'd like to hear from you. How can we be so sure that there is a decline in the French language in Montreal?
I think that what is important here is not whether we agree or not on different indicators of the state of the French language. For us at the city, what is important is that, our first article in the Charter of the City of Montreal is saying that Montreal is the Francophone metropolis of North America. So basically, how can we make that vibrant, and how can we make it alive? For us, for Mayor Plante and me, the intention is not to have one language over another one. What we really want to do is to make sure that French has a prominent place that is, and that people are drawn to it. Like I was saying a bit earlier at the press conference, I grew up in NDG, and a lot of my neighbors came from Toronto because we were speaking French, and we know that the Anglophone communities and some of the allophone communities that are in Montreal are very fluent in French, basically. So for us, that's a good indicator that the language issue is interesting and vibrant in Montreal, and that's what we want to do.
Oh, there's no question. Interesting and vibrant for sure. And I mean, honestly, this is part of the reason why Montreal is so amazing, why it's so awesome, is the intermingling of the cultures and the languages. And listen, I get that, $1.5 million. And as I said, no matter how you spend city money, or provincial money in this case, it's going to make some people mad somehow. And I also understand that funds are allocated to different projects. However, as came up during the issue of those stickers and park acts, people do question if this is the best way to spend money that is available to the city. We've got lots of issues going on. I would say that the housing crisis is probably one that is on people's minds the most. Certainly, homelessness, drug issues.
I agree, Natasha, but that money is earmarked by the Quebec government for French issues. So basically, borough could come up with like a clinic or a legal clinic to help people better understand their lease or whatever, but it would have to be done in French, basically, if we wanted to use that money to do that. And we're wildly open to these ideas. One of the things that we're going to do with that money is put together what we call a promotion campaign, which is basically inviting people who have ideas of what would be useful to them in French to put their ideas forward and make sure that we can see how in a borough or another borough it's more meaningful to do it that way. So we're open to all kinds of challenges. Last year, we had a youth group that asked us for the MC Challenge, for example, where they were doing rap and slamming in French, for example. That was very interesting. Other places have other approaches. So we're really open with that money as long as it helps promote the use of French language.
Promote the use of French language. Do you feel like there's not enough French spoken in Montreal?
The language issue is always a difficult one in Montreal, but one of the things that for us as an administration is important is knowing that Bill 96 is now a bill, and I'd like to remind you that we expressed all kinds of concern while the process was going on, but now that it's a law and everybody has to abide to the law, what we want to do is to make sure that our citizens are offered the opportunity to better their French skills. So basically, that's our responsibility as a city.
That was well said. It was very diplomatic. And I understand it's a touchy question. I very much appreciate your time today, as always. Thank you for being so accessible and for doing your best to help us make sense of the things that make us angry sometimes. Thank you, Madame Ollivier.
Thank you very much, Natasha.
That is Dominique Ollivier, City Councillor, Executive Committee Chair.